Hi, my name is Dr. Amy Rothenberg, and today I'm going to be answering some questions from people around low toxin living, particularly toxins related to the psycho-emotional realm. We're living in unprecedented times where many of us are feeling unbelievable amounts of stress, and that stress is having a large impact on our health, both our physical health, our cognitive health, and our emotional health. So when we get ourselves in a situation where we are very, very stressed out and it goes on for weeks and months, coming on to years, we know that that can have a very negative impact on health. One question I have here is, what do you do when you don't even know what you're stressed out about? Great question. I think that the situation has become that people are so stressed that they no longer can identify what the actual stressors are. For me, when I have a patient like that, I understand that their well has run dry. Their reserves are very low. So things that historically did not stress them out so much have become overwhelming. When I have a patient like that, what I try to work on with them are different ways that they can refill their well. And there are many ways to do that. Some of them are very easy and accessible. Other ones might be a bit of a stretch. But the first thing I try to talk to people about is, what did you used to enjoy doing? What did you used to love having in your life? And to see if there are any ways of bringing some of that back. Now, of course, with the COVID restrictions now, many things that people used to like to do that were great for releasing stress and building reserves, one can no longer do. But there are other things that can be done instead, or can be a close second. So trying to rebuild your own reserves, doing nice things for yourselves, being kind to yourselves, giving yourself a break, cutting yourself some slack. Many of us, I think, are great at cutting other people's slack, but can be very hard on ourselves. And I think at this moment in time, the whole idea of compassion and self-compassion is really paramount, that all love is going to begin with self-love and the ability to give yourself a break and be kind to yourself and gentle with yourself and to do nice things for yourself. You know, when people used to fly and you get on that airplane and you see the flight attendant modeling how to use the oxygen, and the very first thing they say is, put this on yourself before trying to help somebody else. I think many of us are in that state now where we need to put that oxygen, literally, figuratively really, on ourselves before we start to be so hard on ourselves. Giving ourselves the opportunity to take a break, to take a nap, to take a walk, to do the things that we know can help rebuild our reserves. And there's also nothing wrong with asking for help. I think it's a great time right now, if you don't have a therapist to work with, a talk therapist who can really help you prioritize what the challenges are and do some identifying of strategies to help. That can be very, very helpful. A naturopathic doctor can also help you in that regard. There are many things we know that help to raise your threshold for feeling stress and then help you to dissipate the stress that you have. One of the first things on that list, of course, we've spoken about this before, is exercise in its three prongs, if you will: aerobic exercise, something that's stretching, and something that is weight bearing. These are all important parts of a regular exercise routine, but if you can only do one and you can only do it 3 or 4 times a week, much better than nothing. So what are ways that you can exercise in your home if you're no longer going to the gym, or the weather's not good, you can't walk outside, or you live in an area where you don't feel safe walking or riding a bike? The things that you can think about: steps. If you have a flight of steps in your home, can be a wonderful way to get your heart going. Stretching on the floor, the way you maybe learned how to stretch when you were a child. Any kind of yoga postures can be wonderful. And then weight bearing, if you do not have a set of weights in your home and don't have room for that kind of thing, consider using bands. The TheraBands can be a wonderful way to engage your muscles and to do some weight training. Each of these kinds of exercises helps to raise your threshold for feeling stressed. And what I mean by that is that you're in a similar situation and the same event does not cause the kind of stress and stress reaction that it might have if you hadn't exercised. Meditation, mindfulness meditation, can be a wonderful tool to help raise your threshold for feeling stress. I like to start my day with a 10-minute mindfulness exercise. Sometimes I will do that with an app on my phone. Sometimes I will just repeat a mantra. My favorite one is, I'm breathing in peace and healing. I'm breathing out stress and worry. You can do it with me. I'm breathing in peace and healing. I'm breathing out stress and worry. Or sometimes I'll work with square breathing where I'm breathing in for the count of 4, holding for the count of 4, exhaling for the count of 4, and then holding again for the count of 4. And do this over and over again. It can be very relaxing. Starting a day like that makes it so that the same stressors of your day don't have quite the impact. Another question we have been receiving is about what to do with my kids. They're driving me absolutely crazy. I feel like I'm in a cage with a bunch of animals and I don't know what to do. They're bored, I'm bored, we're on edge, we're irritable. And it reminds me quite a bit of being home. I have 3 grown children now, when we were snowed in for weeks at a time. And what did we do? And I appreciate that weeks at a time is different than months at a time, et cetera, of course. But here are some of the fun things that we did with our kids when they were little, when we needed a break from the routine and we needed to spice it up and just do something silly and fun and outrageous. I think probably the number one activity that we would do is we would build forts. And we got very involved with using clothespins to connect pieces of sheets and light blankets. We would drape them over the kitchen table, the dining room table, from high chairs, from ladders, and we would create tents and spaces for the kids to just be creative and play in a new quote unquote space. We were a family of people who enjoyed going camping. We would sometimes put up our camping tent in the living room in the middle of winter, and we would pretend we were going camping in the house, in the living room. Kids loved that. Another thing that we would do is we would keep our eye out for large boxes, like refrigerator boxes, which can be very, very fun to play in. Of course, remove any staples or hard things that the child could be hurt by. When kids get old enough so that they can use a glue gun I think is a wonderful purchase in a family, because children can build, they can attach anything to a big box. So whether it's buttons or little things from your toolbox that you don't need anymore, washers, if they have a glue gun, now you can get burned with a glue gun, so you have to be careful, but if they're old enough to use that safely, if you can assist them, they can really put together quite an invention. And there are certain supplies I would have in my home so that when the mood struck, we could be creative. That began with tempera paints, glue sticks, construction paper, pipe cleaners, and those things on hand could make an afternoon kind of project. Paper mache, if you have the tolerance for a bit of a mess, which is basically made with newspaper, flour, and water. You can build all kinds of things. You can cover balloons and make animal shapes. You can build a volcano and have fun using the different materials that you might have around your house to give kids something different to do, something that's not necessarily on a screen. I know many families are concerned about, they used to have lots of rules around screen time and they've all kind of gone out the window, understandably. But there are other things that we want our children to do to gain some dexterity with their hands, to work with and use materials to see how they interact with the environment, with each other. I think these are all ways of giving something to children that they take into their life going forward, being able to put something together, being able to use color, being able to just have fun with materials. Another thing that we did with our kids at home was we really got them involved with chores and household projects. So having a small manageable project, building a step stool perhaps, or learning how to wash the windows, or learning how to clean, teaching children how to clean so that they are self-sufficient when they get older. Our house, we always had a chore wheel and the kids shared the chores. Some were more preferred chores, some were less preferred. And this was not something that they always relished, but we often had fun with it. We cranked the music when we were cleaning. There would be a treat at the end of a period of time cleaning, something that maybe we could make together, maybe ice cream or frozen fruit in the blender to make a quick sorbet, so that we're rewarding children for sort of being involved and getting into the household responsibilities and sharing the responsibilities so that they can appreciate a job well done. And I think one of the main recommendations I would offer, if you're doing something like any of these kinds of things, is to really resist criticizing and judging. So in other words, you want the job well done, but it's also important for the child to have some pride in it. So make sure that the expectations are clear and age appropriate, help them along, model it, and then encourage them to encourage each other also. Another question that we have is a question around bullying. Bullying is a big stress. We talk about what are the stresses for adults. I think many of us know them: financial, relationships, the household, not enough time, aging parents, too many problems in the world, opening the news can be a big stress in and of itself. But for children, one of the biggest stressors for certain children is being bullied. And of course, that can happen in person, or we can have cyberbullying. And I think one of the best antidotes for bullying is after the incidences are reported. And I do think it's important. Some children don't want parents to report bullying, but it's important to do it because many times the children who are bullying themselves are not being treated well at home, and they often need their own kind of help. So people react to being treated poorly in different ways, and some children become bullies. So they also need our compassion and help. But for a child who is being bullied, I think gaining some kind of interest, expertise, capacity in any realm can be very, very helpful to their self-identity, their self-definition, and their self-esteem. So if we have a child in our practice who's being bullied, we really work with the parents to figure out what can we have for this child to, and sometimes you have to try a few things that they might get some interest in, and then want to pursue more deeply. And this is true even for young children. Sometimes having a mastery of a certain topic can be very, very helpful and can really help a child to feel themselves and feel more confident and feel less reactive to being bullied. Another question that we've been having these days has to do with how can we best support other people in our lives who we know are being very stressed out? What are ways that we can help others, which of course we know for the person who's doing the helping, that's often very healing itself. And the first thing I would say is to look at the list of people in your life, maybe the older people who are living alone, people who don't have very many resources. And just the first step is just simply reaching out. This is one of the best antidotes to yourself feeling stressed and anxious and worried and depressed, is to dig deep and to work toward helping somebody else. When we help somebody else, whether it's through prayer or action or conversation, it helps us as well. And go through that list. And the first thing you want to do is not make any assumptions. You just want to be checking in, because some people are perfectly happy on their own and they're not suffering very much. So you don't want to make assumptions. And then you can offer, hey, I'm going to be in your area over the next couple of days. Can I do some shopping for you? Can I bring you a meal? Would you like one of my favorite cookies that I've been making for years? You can ask people. And, people generally will say, I'm on a diet, don't bring me cookies, or whatever they're going to say. And then but don't give up, and then be consistent. If you help somebody once, check in again in a couple of weeks. Hey, can I go grocery shopping for you? Is there anything I can grab you when I'm going to the store that they like? And I think it's important to develop these relationships among our family first, I would say, and then our extended family of friends, our neighbors, and then other people in our more extended communities. Help goes a long, long way. In fact, I know for me, I've been finding the news on the radio and online very, very challenging, and some of the best stories, these human interest stories that I have read about and I have enjoyed and have given me a little bit of break and a little bit of levity and a little bit of healing are the stories of acts of kindness that strangers and family and friends are doing for each other in a consistent, ongoing basis during these last few years. So don't forget about kindness. It's a very important piece of our own healing. And I would say, lastly, that working with a naturopathic doctor to help you identify the biggest stressors in your life, to see if any of them can be unwound or lessened. Sometimes removing the obstacles to our healing becomes a very big part of our work as we seek to become more balanced and more healthy. And then they can also help you with finding ways to raise your threshold for feeling stress, to dissipate the stress that you have, and to address underlying physical body imbalances that have arisen from the stress through your diet, through certain nutritional and botanical medicine supplements. Can go do the deep dive on the biochemistry of what's happening in your body due to stress and help address any deficiencies that have arisen or imbalances that keep us feeling overwhelmed and stressed out. So you can find a naturopathic doctor near you at our website. And I wish you all the very best of health and kindness to each other. Thank you.